Creating designs with fusible appliques may at first glance seem slightly daunting. With the use of specialty notions designed for the task, the process turns truly enjoyable. We take a close-up look of this beautiful applique quilt, raw edge applique. All the edges are raw, fused onto the background fabric and stitched around the edges. And the design is so intriguing, and you may think, how are you ever going to cut all these pieces and put them together? Well, designs by McKenna Ryan and other artists have many of the same components, and I'd like to share with you how to work with raw edge applique. And you'll find in the envelope, the pattern envelope, usually 2 different guide sheets for the same pattern or the same design. One of them will have the separate components drawn out, and then the second one of the same design will have the layout guideline so that you can get the design exactly the way the designer had intended. Now, you cannot use the design layout or the layout guide for tracing the appliques because the appliques are mirror imaged. They're mirror imaged because we're going to be using paperback fusible web or Wonder Under, paper on one side, fusible web on the other side. The designs are traced on the paper side, fused to the fabric, cut out, and then fused to the background fabric. Hence, you need to have them in the mirror image or reversed image. There are many little intricate details needed here, so to make your job easier so that you can see through the paper, consider using an LED light pad. This type of light table makes quick work out of this process. I have a smaller portion of the appliques on the light pad, and preferably, from my preference, I like to use or trace all of the same color on one section of the Wonder Under. So I have number 1, which is the stem of one of the daisies traced. And then I'm going to find some of the other sections. Here's number 5. And I'll just kind of get that as close to as possible to the number 1 tracing. I just trace around the edges, and this is number 5. So I'll write that backwards, and then I'd nest and try to find the next piece. This is number 2, and I do the same tracing. So and maybe I just trace a little straighter. There we go, all like tracings together, and this is number 2. So then you roughly cut out, after you've traced all of the designs of the same fabric color, like the green area, and you roughly cut them out so that you can see here the way they've been cut out, and just leaving a little space between the areas. Then on the wrong side of the fabric, press the applique design. We're using batiks in this particular design, which makes it quite easy for us because the batiks are basically reversible fabrics, so you don't have to worry about which is the right or which is the wrong side. Follow manufacturer's instructions. Don't overfuse it. Just follow the amount of time needed you'll find on the instructions. Then after you've fused all the sections filled with whatever you need for leaves or what color, then do the cutting. Consider using a very sharp applique or embroidery scissors. The reason is that you'll have lots of little ins and outs to create this design. This is a Bordeaux scissors, an embroidery scissors, and it's sharp, gets right into all of these points. So take some time, cut out the designs just the way you traced. That's a fun process. Then after all of the designs have been cut out, you're going to remove the paper backing from the applique. And this one has been started. This is leaf number 1, and you just get it started. Sometimes getting it started takes the longest time. And you peel off the paper backing. And you can see that the leaf is intricately cut and ready to be positioned into place. Now it's time to do a little changing at the LED light pad. Rather than having the individual appliques positioned, now we're going to position them together. Let me set this aside and then get the guideline paper set. And I'm just going to work with one section of this. Now to get the design just the way you'd like it, use a Teflon sheet. You can press right on this, you can position the applique, and usually the directions will have you start with the applique that's in the furthest background, so that you're working from the background to the foreground. The number 1 stem is what I'm going to start with first, and I get it positioned, just about right. Now to tack it down, I'm just going to use a mini iron just to hold it to the Teflon sheet, the pressing sheet. Oh, one more time. Get it fused down so it stays in place so I can put the other elements into place. You don't have to fuse it totally at this point. I've already traced and cut some of the other elements, this one being the daisy. Line it up. Whoop, I moved it a little bit. Line it up and then position. Get it tacked down so it adheres to the pieces, the other pieces. And then here's one more applique. Got to find out how it matches. Here we go. How it matches, and you can have a little creative license and change the design if it isn't just perfect, but you get the general idea. Then you're going to do some pressing it a little bit more securely than just the tacking on the light table. So as I move this sheet over to my pressing surface, I can do the pressing by either covering the design with the other half of the applique sheet, Teflon sheet, or sandwich it with a second sheet. And that way you can get the sections that need to be fused together. Now if you're thinking, this doesn't look too much like fabric, well it isn't. You're going to let this cool for a while, and on a third sheet I just happen to have another design that is cooled, and then after it's cooled you can peel this off and you have all the elements designed. Now granted, you'll have many more elements to put into play. Now you can either place your fabric on the light table, or you can just position your fabric on your pressing surface and position the applique. This is totally up to you how you'd like to build the elements together. But now you place this together on your fabric and do some final pressing. And the Teflon sheet is great when working with fusible web like Wonder Under, in case there are a little of the extra webbings that sneak through the cut edges. You're not going to get them pressed onto your bottom of your iron. And right here I needed to do a little bit more pressing, so let me just spot press that together. So this is the beginning of creating the applique, using the Teflon sheet to do the positioning, cutting out all the designs, positioning, and that way you can get the intricate designs for raw edge applique just the way the designer wanted. Nancy's Notions offers a full selection of sewing notions to test out your new applique skills. Order your supplies today.